Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 2, and Text 37. Canto 2 is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. Chapter 2 is The Lord in the Heart, and we are on Text 7 today. So without any further ado, I'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janabandhava Girivadadari Gopi Janabandhava Girivadadari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamula Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stottara Sati Shishma's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stottara Sati Shishma's Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Charja Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivachari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. God Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Samadhiyo. Namaste Krishna Vinaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Karana Shakti. Narayana Namaskricha Narum Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashna Prayiswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatam Shloki Bhaktirabhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 7. Kastam tvanadritya para nuchintam rite pashun asati nama kuryat Pashang janam patitam vaitaranyam swakarma janparita panjushanam kastam tvanadritya paranuchintam rite pashun asating nama kuryat Pashang janma patitam vaitaranyam swakarma janparita panjushanam Kastam tvana dvitya paranuchintam Rite pashin asatu nama kuryat Pashanjaman patitam vaitaranyam Sakama janparitapa Jushanam. Hare Krishna. Please unmute and chant if you feel like it.
Oh, Krishna. I'm not able to open the screen for some reason, and I'm having trouble trying to open the screen to read. So
Somebody else can chant now.
yeah,
In the meantime.
please.
Okay, that's also all right if nobody feels inclined to chant. Have you been able to open the screen? Okay, well, we're going then. Word for word. Ka, who else? Tam, that. Tu, but. Anaditya, by neglecting. Para anutintam, transcendental thought. Rite, without. Pashun, the materialist. Asatim, in the non-permanent. Nama, name. Kuryat, will adopt. Pashan, seeing definitely. Janam, the general mass of people. Patitam, fallen. Veteranyam, in Veterani, the river of suffering. Swakarmajan, produced from one's own work. Paritapan, suffering. Jushanam, being overtaken by. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Who else but the gross materialists will neglect such transcendental thought and take to the non-permanent names only? Seeing the mass of people falling in the river of suffering as a consequence of accruing the results of their own work. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Vedas, it is said that persons who are attached to demigods to the exclusion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like the animals who follow the herdsman even though they are taken to the slaughterhouse. The materialists, like animals, also do not know how they are being misdirected by neglecting the transcendental thought of the Supreme Person. No one can remain vacant of thought. It is said that an idle brain is a devil's workshop, because a person who cannot think in the right way must think of something which may bring about disaster. The materialists are always worshipping some minor demigods, although this is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 20. As long as a person is illusioned by material gains, he petitions the respective demigods to draw some particular benefit, which is, after all, illusory and non-permanent. The enlightened transcendentalist is not captivated by such illusory things. Therefore, he is always absorbed in the transcendental thought of the Supreme in different stages of realization, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In the previous verse, it is suggested that one should think of the supersoul, which is one step higher than the impersonal thought of Brahman, as it was suggested in the case of contemplating the Virat Rupa of the personality of Godhead. Intelligent persons who can see properly may look into the general conditions of the living entities who are wandering in the cycle of the 8,400,000 species of life, as well as in the different classes of human beings. It is said there, it is said that there is an everlasting belt of water called the river Vaitarani at the entrance of the Plutonic planet of Yamaraj, who punishes sinners in different manners. After being subjected to such sufferings, a sinner is awarded a particular species of life according to his deeds in the past. Such living entities are punished by Yamaraj. Such living entities as are punished by Yamaraj are seen in the different varieties of, of conditioned life. Some of them are in heaven, some of them are in hell, some of them are brahmanas, and some of them are misers. But no one can be happy in this material world. And all of them are either class A, B, or C prisoners suffering because of their own deeds. The Lord is impartial to all circumstances of the sufferings of the living entities. But to one who takes shelter at his lotus feet, the Lord gives proper protection, and he takes such a living entity back home, back to himself. Om Agina Tibirandasya, Gana Gana Shalakaya. Chakshu Om Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshacharini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaita Gadadha Shiva Shri Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. English translation again. Who else but the gross materialists will neglect such transcendental thought and take to the non-permanent names only, seeing the mass of people fallen in the river of suffering as a consequence of accruing the results of their own work. So this text is bringing out a very important point about materialists and devotees. Materialists and devotees are just somebody sent the text saying that they can't hear. Please respond, unmute yourself and tell me if those of you on there, are you having trouble hearing me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now they say it's working now. All right. So they fixed it from their end. No problem. Okay. So we're talking about materialists on the one side and devotees on the other side. It all has to do with consciousness, the lifestyle one chooses to live. Materialists want to enjoy what's here. And even though it is quite clear that death comes and takes everything away, making life a non-permanent situation, that's still what they want. It is hard to understand that, but intelligent people begin to question this type of lifestyle. It's only a matter of time. Why am I suffering like that? Why do I have to work so hard? Why does this person have more money than me? I mean, that generates envy, true enough. But there's so much inequality in life. Although they don't understand it is based on karma, what happens is somebody does very well materially and somebody does poorly materially. And the person that's done it poorly looks at the other person and they begin to envy them. This is all going on. But the fact of the matter is the person who is doing well materially and the person who is not doing well materially are both going to die and leave this particular plane. So everything here is temporary and there are sufferings. Disease gives suffering, old age gives suffering, other sometimes even animals, but other times germs give us suffering in terms of disease. And people go after other people based on negative thinking, acting in a mode of ignorance, give trouble. The weather sometimes gives us trouble. Still, the intelligent thing would be that if so many things are outside our control, then what's the point in staying here? But Sukadeva Goswami is explaining people just like material things. Hmm? And gross material people, they neglect the concentration on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord in the heart, which is the title of this particular chapter. The Lord in the heart, Paramatma. Hmm? Paramatma is the mercy of the Lord in terms of his Paramatma's behavior. Paramatma is with us in our hearts, along with the real person, which is the soul, also in the heart of this physical body. Does so much to help us in terms of allowing us to do whatever we want to do, because there's some limited free will given to everybody, free choice. But the best thing is, after hearing what has been said just a few minutes back, a detail of the suffering going on in this material world, it is best to turn not to the material things and to try to get material sense of enjoyment from it, which we call happiness, but actually to turn to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and begin to go by his program instead. Krishna is very merciful. Krishna is very kind. Paramatma is an expansion of Krishna. And if he's with us, then Krishna is with us in that form. Why? He's trying to get us to go back home. And he's pervaded the entire existence of the material world. Every atom has Paramatma. So he's everywhere, knows everybody's business. And still, there are some people who take two non-permanent names. We all have names. But do we even think that our names are non-permanent? Well, it's not difficult to prove it. In our last life, the life before this one, what was our name? How many people remember that? I certainly don't remember mine. The lifetime before this last lifetime, what was our name then? What was our agenda? Where were we? We don't remember any of these things. So obviously that those lifetimes have gone, come and gone. And this one will also go. So we have his names temporarily. Even when a devotee, a person that's interested in Krishna consciousness is initiated, they are not given the name that is the original name of the spiritual world, but they are given a name that is very helpful to the devotee and to all the community, the members of the devotees, because the names that are given are connected with Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, or Krishna's form, or Krishna's paraphernalia. The name is such that we remember Krishna. And if we remember Krishna, that's how we go back, especially at the time of death. So when we call each other by devotee names, then we are actually feeding our minds Krishna consciousness. Everything about Krishna consciousness is part of Krishna consciousness, including the names. So it is important that when a person gets initiated, that you use their initiated name. And it doesn't matter even after a while you forget their legal name. It doesn't matter. But the initiated name is important. There are some people who have initiated name. They have a spiritual master, and still they call themselves by the legal name. I don't think they understand what initiation is about then. We are supposed to help ourselves remember Krishna. That's why those names are given. So it is best to use those and forget about the legal non-permanent names. Hmm? The non-permanent names. As Sukadeva Goswami is saying here, in the purport. Srila Prabhupada first talks about those who worship demigods. Demigods, by worshiping them, will supply material needs. But material needs are actually under the control of Krishna. The demigods don't own anything. Everything in their care is actually given to them by Lord Vishnu. So if we worship Lord Vishnu, the demigods themselves become satisfied. So there is no point going to demigods to get material things which are going to be temporary, along with the material body, which is temporary, and the name, which is temporary. Temporary life is not happy life. And many people, as Srila Prabhupada makes the point again in the purport, materialists like animals. They are like animals. They don't realize that they're just going to death and tata dehantara prapti. There will be another body based on how they live to take and continue the suffering in the material world. So it's like being led to the slaughterhouse without even realizing that you're going to the slaughterhouse. People are neglecting the transcendental activities of a Supreme Person, serving the Supreme Person. We should remain in thought of Krishna, and how we relate to each other also is a great indication of how much we understand what Krishna consciousness really is. So materialists are worshiping demigods. The Prabhupada calls them minor demigods because they don't have much at all compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller of everything that is. So whatever people make pujas to demigods for, all they get is something that is illusory, seems to give happiness, but it will give pain later on. It will bring its own problems, and it's non-permanent. We ourselves will die, but some things that we own even go down before we do. You have to change and get something else, which will also just go bad after a while. So the transcendentalist who understands what is not captivated by illusory things. They're all around us. Nice, expensive cars, nice homes, they're all around us. But we shouldn't be captivated by those things. If you yourself have one, then use it in serving Krishna. The more material things that are in our care given to us, the more service to Krishna that we must do with that. We also have to remember that at all times, Maya is also working on behalf of Krishna. Maya works on behalf of Krishna to test to see whether we really want to come close to Krishna or we're just pretending. So when we associate with each other, especially associating with those who are fixed up, just like the analogy is given, if you want to learn how to play tennis, play with somebody who is good at it or can coach you, or you can watch some of the things that they do and learn that, and then you get better. So the association should be such that, one, we learn. There should be friends, yes, who are devotees, but there should also be those that we can learn from, that we can confide in. And the fact of the matter is, spiritual life is such that we are either growing or we're going down. Anyone that thinks that they have grown up to a certain level and that's the level that they're at, that's also another form of illusion. Spiritual life is always dynamic. We are getting better or we're going down. Now, we're getting better. If we are, we will feel happy inside. We will see that there's some things about, we like what we're doing. We like life generally, especially the spiritual part of it. And the problems that happen around us don't trouble us very much. Because they come and they go, just like winter and summer. Winter comes, it goes. Summer comes, it goes, like that. Mm? And a person who is advancing is always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to serve the Lord at home and especially in the temple. The temple's business is 100% Krishna consciousness. So we are in a situation, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that we are relating to the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the highest level. There is Brahman, which is the effulgence of the Lord, Paramatma, which is the Lord in the heart, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are fortunate to relate to the two-handed form of the Lord, the original form of the Lord. Knowing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is another wonderful feather in our cap, because the Lord's most munificent form is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's not even saying to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Although he's the same personality, he's in the mood of Radharani, service mood. And he said, just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By doing that from the heart, doing that with focus, doing that just like a child who can't find his or her parents and they're in anxiety about it. The fact of the matter is we are living in a very difficult world because it is designed like that. It's designed for us to have to work hard. It's designed that at any time things may happen that would put us into difficulty. Physically, financially, anything can happen at any time. So we are the mercy of the Lord. And when we turn to Krishna consciousness, then the protection comes. Srila Prabhupada describes this everlasting belt of water, the river Vaitarani, which is at the entrance to the plutonic planet of Jamaraj. The first time we see a link between what the scientists know, few of the planets with a given name. And of course, if you study even what the materialists talk about this universe, and they have very limited knowledge about it, even that they do say the farthest planet is Pluto. And now Srila Prabhupada also says the plutonic planet. Now, farther, but actually it's not farther in terms of going up. It's actually bottom, going down. The farther is down. It's Yamaraj, where he is, and the planets, the Yamadutas are there, punishing sinners in different ways. Now, after punishment, some people, again, that's why we're told to abandon varieties of religion. Some people think that punishment in hell is forever. What kind of God will punish somebody forever when they haven't sinned forever? It doesn't even begin to make sense. But for whatever reason, maybe it has an effect of people having to stay away from sin because they think that they will be punished forever. The fact of the matter is, even if nobody gets punished forever in the hellish planet, the intensity of punishment is horrible, absolutely horrible. His Holiness Govinda Maharaj describes, His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj describes the preparation for somebody who goes into the hellish planet for punishment. Compared to the physical bodies that we have, of course, these physical bodies don't go there because when we die, then the physical body is, finished. So that does not go to that place. But the body that goes, especially to the hellish planets, is the type of body when, compared to our physical body that we know now, any pain for that body in the hellish planet is 100 times more the intensity of pain It's 100 times more than what we used to. So you can just do an experiment simply and pinch yourself to the extent that you can withstand that. Just pinch. And then think of if it was done to me at a hellish planet, I'll actually be like pinched 100 times, 100 times intensity, intensely 100 times more intense than that. Therefore, even though time spent in the hellish planet is not forever, the intensity is such that we shouldn't even wish it on our worst enemy. First of all, the body shouldn't have enemies at all. There may be disagreements, but there shouldn't be enmity. So after that punishment, after the hellish planet, a person who is acted in a mode of ignorance goes there, and then chances are very high that getting another physical body will not be a human type body. They will be in the other 8 million, one of the 8 million type bodies that are not human. So now going back home, back to Godhead is cut off, because that is only when a person not only is in a human body, but they've also turned their attention to worshiping Krishna. So we don't want to be put in that kind of situation. So after one lifetime, the person doesn't go back to the spiritual world. And Sri Prabhupada is describing that we are put in either class A, class B, or class C prisoners. That is, we're back in the material world where no one is totally happy. You can say class A is those who are living in the heavenly planets, class B, those in the medium planets, and class C, those live in the lower planets. And it doesn't say that here, but we can categorize like that. Or we can just put C as heavenly and B as medium and A as it doesn't really make much difference. 3 types of planetary systems: higher planetary systems, medium planetary systems, and lower planetary systems. Everybody that's there is a prisoner. At least when it comes to Krishna consciousness, it's made clear to us that we are prisoners. People generally know that they're suffering, and they don't understand why. And they're saying that, well, maybe if I vote this other person into power, the suffering will stop. It never stops. You vote whoever you want to vote into power will not stop a mosquito from biting us and giving us sickness. But some things simply won't change. The pain of birth and the pain of death will be there, regardless of even who's president. It's just like that in this material world. So then it makes more sense to begin to prepare to leave this place. And we do that by taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Then we get proper protection while we're here. And at the end of life, we are taken back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada had mentioned earlier Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 20. Chapter 7 is knowledge of the absolute. Kamaste shrita jnana prapadyante nya devata. Tam tam niyamam ashtaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires. And that happens to devotees too. So we have to be very careful. Why do we say happens to devotees? Yes, it's understood that devotees are supposed to direct their attention to service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there are some devotees, and this is a situation of the desires that we had before coming into Krishna consciousness. Some of them still linger around. And it causes some people to go to demigods, even though they claim to be devotees. There are some people who keep deities of demigods on their altar, even though they're devotees. This is all going on. We have to make a clean break from worship of demigods to the worship of Krishna. We have to make a clean break from it. So it's not me saying it. This is from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying it. Those whose intelligence has been stolen because they want material desires, they go to demigods and they do pujas to them. Krishna owns everything, including what the demigods have in their possession. So Krishna will guide us back home away from all of these problems in the jails. So Srila Prabhupada says that less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense, they take shelter of demigods. So enough said, stop connecting with demigods. If you worship Lord Shiva, you should stop worshiping Lord Shiva, but request him to make you a better devotee. Just like the Prachitas did. They were very, Prachitas are the sons of, the 10 sons of King Prachina Bhattacharya. Very, 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 very connected with Krishna consciousness. They had, of course, the king, they are princes. So wealth, material wealth, they had plenty of that. They were not attached at all. They wanted to leave and go and perform tapasya, austerities, just to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are princes. What they own, many of us won't even dream of getting those kind of things that they had. Lord Shiva was very happy that they were going to do that. So when they were on their way, Lord Shiva himself, he didn't ask Lord Shiva himself met them and gave them a wonderful set of prayers, shlokas, that they should chant while they were doing their meditation. So what does Lord Shiva really want for us? He wants us to be connected to Krishna, not get material things, which he can give, but we shouldn't request those kind of things. So the rules and regulations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead worship, that's what's important. Now, in relating to devotees, that is our practice for relating to those who are in the spiritual world. What we're doing now, the way we relate to devotees. There are rules and regulations, there are guidelines in relating to devotees. Yes, some devotees are by age older or younger, and some devotees are at the same age that we are at. How do we relate to them? There is one trick that Maya plays on so many people who have been in Krishna consciousness for a while, and it's interesting how many people just can't see that happening. So this has been described by my Guru Maharaj, and I'm simply going to repeat it or paraphrase it here. We're talking about a devotee who's been like 10 years, 15 years initiated. So he's been in it for a while. Now, first thing you have to understand is, if you've been in there that long, you are from initiation twice born. Your first birth, our first birth, everybody, is from father and mother. Second birth is initiation, spiritual birth. We understand apart from our father and mother, the first birth. Why? Because we knew we were babies. 0 years, a few days, and then went to weeks, and then went to months, and then the first birthday came, first year. Then to the second year. How much did we know? We were just learning how to walk. By the second time, we were learning how to speak whatever language that's there. So we understand that from the material birth, we didn't know much. But by spiritual birth time, the physical body has grown. We are at a certain age when we get initiated. That is true. But that spiritual birth is also a birth that starts from 0, a few weeks, a few months, 1 year, 2 years, and so on. Now, when a person is growing in Krishna consciousness, spiritual birth means there are checks, and the checks we sometimes say checks and balances, but checks, that part, Maya checks us out to see whether we really want to do what we say we want to do, and for that reason, got initiation. So, with all due respect, a person who has been initiated for 5 years, it's a 5-year-old. A person who's been initiated for 10 years, it's a 10-year-old. A person who's been initiated for 13 years, it's a 13-year-old. How much spiritual maturity is there? I'm not going to answer that question. You answer it yourself. How much spiritual maturity is there? It is a fact that over time, once you get into 20, 30, 40, 50 years, just look at devotees who have been in Krishna consciousness 50 years, you will see there's something very particular about them. They hardly offend anyone. So now let's look at situation. This is a matter of trying to just get clean. This whole thing is about trying to get clean from the things that we don't realize. So what it is a person who is younger physically than us. We know that we go from one lifetime to another lifetime. So that person is a person who was born after we had been born, maybe even 20 years after we had been born. So when that person was born, we were already 20 years. When a person was 10 years, we were 30 years. The person was 20 years old, we are young, he's a young man, we are 40 years old. So yeah, we are older, but it's only by the physical body. Now, when that person, before they were born, when we were 20 years old, that person was probably in this lifetime 60, 70 years old. And we were 20. Now, at 60, it's the same soul. 60, 70 years old, how would you treat that person? Like a little boy? Of course not. You know better. You say, oh, the person is adult. I have to honor that person because he's 60, he's 70 years old, and I'm 20. And that person is 60, 70 years old, they die. And you're 20, 25 years old, 30 years old, they get born. That person gets born again. Now he's come to this lifetime into your life space as a baby, but it's the same soul. And now you're getting older, they're starting off because they're starting another lifetime. And you are in that lifetime when that person was 60, 70 years old, when you were 20. Understand the math. You are respecting them. They're born now. They're young. But they were in Christian consciousness. Maybe they didn't fully. So they're trying another life, or Krishna has brought them back for a particular reason. But they're younger. And now you're the one that's older. They've started a new life. And when they're a young person, you start mistreating them because you think you're older than them. That's the same soul you were respecting when you were younger in a different lifetime for that particular soul. So if you understand what we're talking about, it boils down to this. The person who is young may have been the person who you were respecting in a lifetime before they died and got born to this life. So should you disrespect them? We are not the bodies, we're the souls. The same soul that you were respecting earlier. So it boils down to this. Everyone is important. And how you relate to them is very important. And this is why, due to spiritual immaturity, some people who think that they're older start treating younger people badly. When they don't realize the same people that in their lifetimes earlier, they were senior citizens. They've just started another life. So across the board, we have to treat everybody with respect. That's why it's there in the Shastra. Lord Chaitanya came as a young person 500 years ago. He is the owner of everything there is. He is the owner of everything. Let us think in. He's the owner of everything there is. But he is a little boy in Navadweep. Then he gets to be a teenager. So anyone that mistreats younger people is saying basically, if I was an older person in Navadvip and Lord Chaitanya was there and he's a teenager in Navadvip, then I will disrespect him. But he is the owner of everything there is. How much trouble we put ourselves in. Lord Chaitanya was not even indicating to anyone that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He didn't want to hear it. Even those who try to put two and two together, you tell him he's Lord, he says Vishnu, 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 covers his ears. But he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the point we're making is Maya can steal our intelligence too. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Namon Diskritina Mudha, Papadyante Naradama, Maya Parita Jnana, Asuri Bhavim Ashrita. So the translation is, people who are fools and rascals, devotees are intelligent. They're not in that category. People who are the lowest of mankind, devotees are the most intelligent. They are the highest of mankind. They're not in that category. Maya Paritagyana, those whose intelligence has been stolen by Maya. That's where sometimes devotees fall into. That's why we have to be careful. Maya Paritagyana, that one is for everybody. Because you're either growing or you're not. You are either growing in Krishna consciousness or you're slipping. If you begin to get uncomfortable with devotees, that is an indication that you're slipping. Everything that happens, Srila Prabhupada has already said it. We quote him instead of me even putting it the way that the Guru will help me. Let me put it Srila Prabhupada's way. He said that things will happen. Don't take it so seriously. We all have our ideas. We later on talk about what it is we could do to actually get out of trouble with Maya. We have a wonderful opportunity to go back. So we let petty things control us. Then that's very unfortunate. What are we in Krishna consciousness for? Everybody knows. Bhakti yoga, devotional service. So if you're going to do devotional service, then you have to understand what devotional service is. You're serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of love for him. So imagine that they're serving, you say, I'm not going to do it. I can, but I won't do it. This is how you become devotional and serve the Lord from your heart. Does that make sense? Maya Paritagyana. Krishna's Maya stone intelligence. So it may seem like, oh, it's just one little thing. Yeah, that's how Maya works. Always gives you a little thing. One thing you used to do, one thing you used to be excited about, one thing I used to be excited about, take it away. Oh, now I'm not so interested. Then you quit that. Then another one. That's quit. Another one. Next thing you know, you're not doing anything. Okay. So you come to the temple, you don't do anything. Then you go back. And you think you're going to grow? Who is going to allow you back in the spiritual world to sit and do nothing? Everybody in the spiritual world serves wonderfully, serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead from their hearts, but they serve. So if you don't want to serve, then you don't want to go home. Point blank. You don't want to serve, you don't want to go home. Everybody is trying to serve Guru and trying to serve Krishna. Let's remember that. We have to respect those who are younger because they were our senior citizens before they left their bodies and came back. And this is the trick the Maya plays on us. Krishna consciousness is for everybody to grow. But if we don't want to grow, then Maya will help us to go down. We should never feel, what we talked about in one word is humility. So how humble are we? We also have to be truthful. That's another thing that plagues the Buddhists. It is very convenient to this. Nobody knows my mind. Therefore, if I give them a story, they will just believe it. That's what they have to go by. God may be true with the person we're lying to, but the Lord is in the heart. Can we lie to the Lord? Who takes care of our spiritual credits and debits? The person that you lied to, or is it Paramatma that takes care of it? Can you lie to Paramatma? Can I lie to Paramatma? So who's losing? So these are very important things that once we come into Krishna consciousness, we have to be aware that it's there and we're going to get tested. So with all due respect to everybody, myself, because I'm speaking for my own purification too, we have to be really careful about this path that we're in. It is a narrow path. The wide path leads to hell. This is Bhagavad Gita saying that. The gates to hell are wide open. The path to hell is a large road. But this one that we're in is narrow. And we have to be always cautious to protect our devotee kripa. So, Srila Prabhupada has said that the opportunity is there for us to go back. We should try to finish our business in Krishna consciousness and go home. But we can't finish it with all of these anathas, unwanted desires. That's why we've taken the time to talk about some of them today. If I've stepped on anybody's toes, I sincerely apologize. But it's just for us to take this process that we're in seriously. Chant and chant with desperation. Chant the Lord's name with determination. Chant the Lord's name with focus. But above all, respect everyone. Don't let Maya make you think that, oh, this person is younger, therefore I can just treat them any way I want to. No, you're ruining your own spiritual life. If I do that, I'm ruining my spiritual life. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful. And one thing more, and then we'll talk about, then we'll stop. Those in different positions of authority, they are just trying to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They won't think the same way the rest of us would think, but most of the time they have the bigger picture because they're dealing with the management above them, which means the GBC, and others. They're all in the hierarchy. And if we respect the decisions, that will help us a lot. If we don't respect the decisions, we can't go back to Godhead because there's hierarchy in the spiritual world too. If you don't learn to respect hierarchy, you will not be able to make it back. Spiritual world, going back is the way to get out of this material miseries. And so now we have to be more attentive to protect our spiritual kripa. Don't let all of these little things that Maya just gives to us, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, and then we buy into it. If you're not doing service, or if you don't want to do service, you're already in Maya. You're already in Maya. If you can do more service but deliberately cut back on service, you're already in Maya. It's just not obvious then. Because your free choice is making you think, yeah, I can do whatever I want to. Are you kidding me? You're in Maya already. So let's be careful. This is out of love for everybody that we speak like that. And my spiritual master and many spiritual masters, when they have the darshans, they speak like that. So don't be surprised. And sometimes they write, sometimes they speak. Srila Prabhupada, if you read his Leela there were times that he was very heavy. I'm only repeating things that they've said and what's also happened. Because out of love, we want to see everybody go back to Godhead this lifetime. It's not going to get better here in the material world. There are nuclear weapons waiting. Everybody is scared of them. Then they should be. But it can go off at any time. So why you want to stay here? So let's be careful about this gift that we have. It's the best gift we have, Bhakti Yoga. And not let Maya just creep in and mess it up. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for, obviously I was in my soapbox today, needless to say. But, we need for everybody. So you can unmute yourself. You want to ask a question, you can. If you don't want to, that's also okay. You can share realization or, make some comment if you so desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. So
Hare Krishna.
thank you for the warning, because I think as conditioned soul, speaking from myself also, we all need this reminders, to snap us out of our comfort zone, to snap us out of, our mind, because the mind is such a rascal. I remember Chandramali Swami saying in one of his classes in 2000, I think 18 or 19, no, 18, where he said, we have to, do we want our mind to be our friend or our enemy? And what in one of his classes, he gave a 3-day seminar actually. In one of his classes in that topic, Chandramali Swami said that the mind is your friend if it helps you to grow spiritually by engaging in devotional service, chanting the holy name, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, engaging the mind, body, and senses, and really getting closer. Because I was reading a quote yesterday, and I think it was from Prabhupada. Yes, it is. It's a letter from Srila Prabhupada to one of his disciples, and I don't remember which disciple it was, but it was in it was in the 70s, where Srila Prabhupada said, the more we engage ourselves in service to the Lord and as his devotees, the more it decreases our material hankerings. And he was writing this to his disciples, saying that this disciple, again, I don't remember who it is, but Prabhupada was commending his disciple that you are really engaging yourself in so much service to the deities, to the devotees, to the temple, that I can see that your material hankerings and your distractions are going down. So Srila Prabhupada was actually even very heavy at that time. That's one thing that I've learned, about Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes we don't see that, so we think that Srila Prabhupada was all very lovey-dovey and nice. No, Prabhupada would sometimes just be pretty heavy. So I
Extremely
think this
heavy.
very, very, very heavy. And sometimes I think, and I want to really, ask the devotees, a request, I think is the nice word. We should think about our parents in a sense that, when we do something wrong, or when we don't do something right, we get corrected by our parents because they are our parents. They are the seniors, they are the elders, right? We get corrected, we get chastised, sometimes we get punished, sometimes we get guided by mom, by dad, by uncle, by aunt, by grandpa, by grandma. We get that, and why do they do that? They do that because they love us. They don't want us to fall and get into, off track in life. That's why they do that. So in spiritual life, we have seniors, we have proper disciples, we have gurus to do the same job in our spiritual progress. So that's why, I'm appreciating the point, because speaking for myself, we all need this reminder to really uh peri- periodic reminder, I think is the word, periodic frequent reminder to get us back on track and not get too comfortable, because the material world is such where it takes just a second to get very comfy in our couch, very comfy, like very, very comfy. But, when I say that word, I imagine myself, having a blanket over me with a cup of tea and just enjoying and being lazy in the couch potato. Yeah, we can definitely be that way, So we got to be careful. We got to be careful that, the material world is such where it just takes a second to get us very comfortable. And that's why I remember Kratu Prabhu in one of his classes. Kratu Prabhu was very strong and very emphatic. This was, I believe, it was pre-COVID. Kratu Prabhu mentioned in his class the urgency for Krishna consciousness. And if we define the word urgent, it means right now. It doesn't mean 2 years from now, 2 days, 2 weeks, 20 years. It means now. urgency for Krishna consciousness. How much are we urgent in Krishna consciousness? That's the point that Karthik Prabhu was mentioning in one of his classes. We have to do a daily evaluation. Are we urgent? Because urgent, if we look in the dictionary, it means immediate, right now. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So thank you for the comments that you made. It's very important. The one thing that I would like to just throw out, and that's to do with actually my own personality. The only time I would speak very, very, very strongly, like we did today, my Guru Maharaj pushes me to do that. Not that I want to do it myself. But when there's danger, a person is blind or a person is walking backwards and doesn't realize that there's very few steps away from the edge of a cliff and they're going to fall. And another person realizes that this person is headed towards that kind of disaster. It is important for the person who sees a disaster coming to point it out. If they don't point it out, then it's not going to help that person. It's like, but in Krishna consciousness, it's more than that. If we don't point out the danger that's there, then we are also implicated in the problems, in the fallback or the fallout, the problems that could happen to us. In other words, you knew it and you didn't say it. The person that is in that situation will also have to face some chastisement, some punishment. So we just have to be careful to protect our devotional kripa. And right now, we see the signs of people slipping. And that's why we've spoken like that. So it's a warning. And we are always warned when we come to Krishna consciousness. It happens everywhere. We've been through a lot of warnings in our own devotional life. And so we see that it's good for us. And we've seen other people that didn't take warning seriously, what happened to them. They're no longer devotees. They're back in the material energy and unhappy there too. Because once you come to Krishna consciousness and you go back to the material energy, you'll never be the same. It doesn't work like that. So let's try to do the best thing for each other, respect each other, so we can go back home. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? If not, then thank you very much for coming. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sundhibhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory Shri Prabhupada.